Tuesday. Since Linda's having surgery, we all
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
home
we-
and pray for her surgery. We'll do Taco Tuesday the following week. How's that?
Sounds good.
Perfect.
They could drop you some light, couldn't
Last Sunday, we read where Jesus said these words. He said, "For I say unto you, except that your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven." That was some tough words for these people to hear. Remember, the Pharisees based their righteousness on their outward actions of obeying the Mosaic laws. They thought that's what made them righteous, obeying all the laws. Jesus is telling this crowd of people and his disciples, outward actions alone in following the laws is not enough. It's on the inside that counts. If you remember so far, he's saying, you've heard it said of oh this, but I say this, and he's pointing at the inside. Next, Jesus teaches about murder. Everybody feels pretty comfortable with that because I don't think anybody here murdered anyone.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Not yet.
I don't remember.
Type said no either. Once again, Jesus stresses the importance of a person's heart. He said, "You have heard that it was said of them of old time," talking about the Mosaic laws, "thou shalt not kill." That's one of the what?
Ten
Ten Commandments, okay. "And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment." Now you gotta watch this. Jesus is referring to one of the Ten Commandments found in Exodus 20. And there it is, it's number 6. Thou shalt not kill. I just got to do this one more time because I want you to be aware what you're reading. Protestant Ten Commandments and Catholic Ten Commandments. Now, we have number 2 is thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. And we look over here and their number 2, oh, it's you shall not take the Lord's name in your God in vain. Well, where did it go? We go down to the bottom when we say, thou shalt not covet, that's 1. They go down to the bottom and say, not covet your wife or your neighbor's goods. So what happened? What happened? They took away, thou shalt not have any graven image. They took away one of the Ten Commandments, number 2, and threw it out completely. But then it would be 9 commandments. And that wouldn't sound good, so what did they do? They say, number 10, they broke it into 2 sections to make 10. Now, I'm not just bashing the Catholics here. I just want you to be aware of when you're seeing these signs. They say, okay, in the courthouse, yes, we can now put the 10 commandments. Which one did they put up? You never know until you walk in there and read it. Look and see if number 2's in there. If number 2 is in there, it's a good one. Did y'all know that before? I think I've done that before, but I just wanted you to see that. Now, why do you think the Catholics did that?
Because they have a crucifix.
They have
which is a graven image.
They have a graven image. They do. And they wanted to keep that. So, okay, enough on that. Now, in the book of Exodus, God gave these 10 commandments to Moses to take down from Mount Sinai and share them with the people. 10 commandments. But later, God expanded on these laws, and he came back, and as is written in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, God came back to Moses and said, now, we're going to break and clarify a lot of these laws. And so that's why there's so many laws in these next 2 books of the Bible. So why didn't God give all these to Moses to start with? Because he could only carry 2 tablets down from the mountain. He couldn't carry that with all that stuff. So later he came to him and said, now, let's expand on these 10 on there. And that's what you find in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Later, the Jewish priests and the other religious leaders decided that they were going to better define the laws that God gave Moses in these 2 additional books. So they decided, well, we're going to define it even further, another level on this. So they came up with 613 additional laws. You'll see that number a lot in Jewish writings. One good example is the 39 laws that was added to better explain the one that said, thou shalt do no work on the Sabbath. So they decided, well, what constitutes work on the Sabbath? So the Pharisees, making sure that these people obeyed the law, decided to spell it out for them. Here they are. No carrying, burning, extinguishing, finishing, writing, erasing, cooking, washing, sewing, tearing, knotting, untying, shaping, plowing, planting, reaping, harvesting, threshing, winnowing, selecting, sifting, grinding, kneading, combing, spinning, dyeing, chain stitching, whatever that is, warping, I don't know what that is, weaving, unraveling, building, demolishing, trapping, shearing, slaughtering, skinning, tanning, smoothing, marking.
I don't do none of them.
Can you believe God gave 10, and then he came down and explained to Moses in depth about all of these. And then the Pharisees took it upon themselves to add to what God had to say.
Yeah.
Now remember, the whole focus of Jesus talking to these people, to his disciples, is it's more than what you do outwardly. You've already said, don't do this, don't do this. And the Pharisees, you have to be more righteous than the Pharisees. Their only righteousness comes on the outside, they think, following the laws. And he said, no, that's not enough. You need more than that. Crazy. Then later they begin to define many of these laws even further. For example, they said, you are not allowed to travel on the Sabbath.
Oh my goodness.
They make the laws.
Is that like going to church? You
Huh?
travel to church. That's traveling.
Well, I'm not going to try to redefine their laws. Oh, man, no. He said, for me to explain the mathematical principles that they used to define travel would take at least 6 more slides. They went back, way back, and said, okay, we're at the tabernacle, and we had all these 12 tribes camped around it, and the distance from this tribe to this tribe is so many feet, or cubits, they call it, and so many from this side to this side. So based on that, you could walk 1,000 footsteps this way, or this way, or this way, but no more, because that would take you outside of the camp. What? Where did you get that from? They're making it up, the Pharisees.
Making it up as they go, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
It's happening today.
yeah.
Yeah, really.
So why are we talking about all of this? We were talking about the words of Jesus. How did we get on all of this? To better see how the Jewish leaders put all of these laws on the people to follow. It put an impossible burden for them to bear. Last Sunday, we heard a song that Gary selected for us. It's called At Calvary. Now look at this. That's how God works. In the song that Gary picked for us, it has the phrase, burdens are lifted at Calvary. And today we're talking about those burdens that the Pharisees put on the backs of all the people. There's no way they could obey all these laws. You know, it's kind of history. It's not in the scriptures anywhere, but they said that. So what constitutes, you can only walk, let's say, 200 steps from your house. That's as far as you could go on the Sabbath. Well, what, from your home, what constitutes your home, where your possessions are? You may have heard this before, but they go out 200 steps and they dig a hole and they bury one of their pots. Well, where my possessions are, that's my home.
Yeah.
So now they can go another 200 steps and dig a hole and bury a pot, and they could. You think Jesus is pleased with all this?
No.
No. That's why he's talking to the people. He said, no, unless your righteousness is greater than that of the Pharisees, you'll no longer enter into the kingdom of heaven. You're not going to work your way to heaven. It doesn't go that way. Gary, your timing on the song was perfect. You didn't even know that. I didn't either until I started putting this together. Yeah.
The Pharisees must not have known about ankle monitors.
Oh, yeah, I guess not. So what burdens are we talking about? The burdens that the Jewish laws put on the backs of those, put on the Jewish leaders. While many of the Old Testament laws are still good for today, God did not intend for them to be a burden and not to be more meaningful than love your neighbor. Jesus said, and this is in Matthew 11, we're still in Matthew 5, but I jumped over to show you this. He said, come to me, all who labor and are what? Heavy laden with those burdens that the Pharisees had put on them. And I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I give you a light burden, not what the Pharisees have put. These people got to be thinking, we never heard anything like this. All we heard was, you're not following the rules, you're breaking the laws. That's all they knew. Burdens are lifted at Calvary. Gary, good job. Now back to the scripture, he said, you have heard that it was said of them of old time, thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. Well, what judgment are we talking about? The judgment. Jesus is saying what they already knew, that if you kill a person, they will go before the local court and they will receive judgment. Right there, he's not talking about the final judgment. Whosoever, because there's going to be people that commit murder and later accept Jesus, and they will enter the kingdom of heaven. And they will not be judged at the great white throne, because their names will be in the book of life. So he's talking about just normal. You go to court, and you're going to pay for that. The Pharisees believed that since they did not murder anyone physically, that they were totally righteous. However, the Pharisees had killed Jesus. They had him killed. I guess that didn't count as murder, did it? Well, it didn't in their eyes anyway. But then Jesus added a shocking statement to this commandment, thou shalt not kill. Listen what he says next. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, and I added that in parentheses, that's my writing. I looked it up and go back to the original Greek, and it means I hate you. I don't know how y'all feel about that word, hate. When our two daughters were young, I don't know, 5 and 7 or something, we'd be at the table. You remember in those days when you gathered at the table and you ate supper together and the whole family was there? Yeah, well, that's gone now. But we were sitting at the table and one of them used the word hate and the other one said, oh, Mom, she said hate. We did not like that word. And that's a horrible word. And Jesus used that as an example of hollering at your brother and calling him Raka, or I hate you, shall be in danger of the council. Go back a little minute, I'll explain further. But whosoever shall say, thy fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Now we got two different things. We got the council, he's talking about the courts and the judgments and the things, and then we got down here. Hellfire, there ain't no way around what Jesus is talking about. That's not the courts on that. Thou fool. That seems interesting. Okay, Jesus is stressing the importance of brotherly love. He said, saying to a person, Raka, or I hate you, is in danger of the local courts. But calling a person a fool is in danger of hellfire. Jesus did not say you would definitely go to hell. He said you would be in danger of it, or in my own words, you would be on the road towards hell, calling somebody a fool. He didn't say it's a definite you go. Now, let's look at this word fool. He put a lot of emphasis on that. The term fool is an Aramaic insult. It means empty-headed or foolish.
A bunch of people like
So, it was used to demean someone's intelligence or their character. Now, here we've been talking about thinking murder, killing a person physically, and Jesus is over here talking about a different type of murder. It was used to demean someone's intelligence or character with these words. Jesus uses it to stress the seriousness of harboring anger or contempt for others, indicating that even harsh words and insults can be morally, internally damaging to people. You can kill people with your words. That's what Jesus is saying. Okay. You may not have killed anybody physically, but your words could be killing them mentally. Think about that. Words can be really hurtful. Today, you might hear someone using words like retard, ignorant, brainless, idiot, stupid, and I'll not mention all the nasty words that I could have put in there.
Thank you.
You're killing people internally with these words. Can you imagine calling a child a retard or an idiot? This is what Jesus is talking about. He said, you heard an old time, thou shalt not kill, and that's right. You'll go before the courts and you'll pay for that. Whether you go to heaven or not depends if you become a follower of Jesus after that or not. Not what you did. Comments on that? Doesn't that make sense where Jesus is going with this?
If
What?
somebody don't hear you say it, I guess it don't, you're not being ugly then. Because on
No.
the highway, you might call somebody an idiot.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, he does hear you, don't he? Okay, never
In
mind.
2 weeks, we'll touch on that. I won't be here. David's making arrangements for one of the teachers that we've had before that did such a good job. He'll be gone. So, just so you know. But yeah, when we talk about another subject, it's going to say, if you think it in your heart. Yeah, now getting nervous, aren't you? Huh?
There is
What have you
some-
been thinking anyway?
there is
Never,
some-
don't tell us.
There is some out there on them highways, so I'm telling you, they're crazy people.
Pray for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The world is full of crazies, and it's getting worse all the time. Okay, let's move on. All people are God's children. Do not call any of God's children a fool, a retard, an idiot. They're God's children you're calling those names to. For doing so, you may be killing them mentally or emotionally. That's what Jesus was stressing. You have heard it said of old, thou shalt not kill. Jesus wasn't finished on this subject. He went on to talk about reconciling your differences with your brothers and sisters before you go give your gifts to God. Reconciling. When he says brothers and sisters, that's brothers and sisters in Christ. Jesus said, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar and first go and be reconciled to them and then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you're still together on the way, and your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown in prison. Truly, I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. In these verses, Jesus teaches that reconciliation with others is more important than religious performances. actions and internal. It's kind of like in here, a simple little parallel. We say it's more important you spend your time with your kids and grandkids than to attend this class. You don't put them before God, but if you have a chance, go do that. This is a religious activity. It's okay, and we need to do this. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, and we do that. But there's some things emotionally that are important too, and being with kids and grandkids is important on that. And so he's saying, don't if you got a problem with your brother or sister and they're going to take you to court, you're better off to try to settle. No matter how you settle it, just get it over with and take care of it. Because once you get to the judge, you'll all be thrown in prison. He just said, take care of it. Don't let anything go that far. Jesus emphasizes that we should settle our differences with our brothers and sisters outside the courtroom because the consequences of the court meeting could be prison. Pretty simple. The Apostle Paul said, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as God forgave you. That's in Ephesians. Overall, these three verses emphasize the value of maintaining harmonious relationships and prioritizing reconciliation over religious formalities. A lot of things are just that, religious formalities. Next, Jesus speaks of adultery. Are y'all ready to this? Can you handle this?
Yeah.
Glenn and I will be in Arkansas next Sunday. We will pick up this lesson 2 weeks from today. I know we're going to have some time left over here, but I don't want to do half a lesson on adultery and then go 2 weeks later and do the other half. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to do adultery and divorce. Anybody that's been involved in divorce, please don't stay home. Be here. We're just going to talk about the words of Jesus. We're not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to embarrass anybody. We're not making any decisions. We're not casting judgment. We're not doing anything. We're just going to read what Jesus has to say on these two subjects. And I didn't want them split up. I wanted them together because there would be some things. I learned stuff I didn't know putting this lesson together. And I think you will learn some stuff that you probably have never heard taught before. So I think this will be important for all of us. We'll encourage each other in 2 weeks. So what do we do now for about another 15 minutes?
Damn.
You can cut it off right here.
You got any songs?